And we're live. Ruben, how you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing?
Good, good, good. It's been we're catching up on some of the UFC fights and stuff before we hit record. It's been interesting to that's what I was gonna ask you was about the fights this last weekend. Did you see? I saw I usually just watch the highlight clips afterwards, but like the Colby finish, and then the Cheme, what's the guy's name? Chemaya.
Chimaev.
That
Chimaev.
dude,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
dude
Yeah.
is a killer, man.
He's good.
There's some pretty
Yeah.
good
It
finishes.
it was a bit of a it was a bit of a downer, but it's often that way with MMA. Like
Yeah,
I'm talking about the last one, right? The main fight. It was
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I tend to go for underdogs. I tend to like like somebody coming back and doing well, or like somebody maybe at the end of their career kind of having a tough time, and then like
Right,
I'm
right,
wanting
right.
to them to do well and like surprise
Yeah,
everyone, and sort
yeah,
of
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
leave you
yeah.
with a good. Doesn't happen. Shit doesn't happen in MMA.
Sometimes it doesn't happen,
No,
and it
doesn't
seems
happen.
like he had like a pretty bad. Like I saw this video on Tyron's rib injury, and he seems like he had a
Yeah,
pretty bad rib injury that like
yeah. He
like
broke it. Yeah.
yeah, like pretty hard. Like, and I don't know if that's like not his fault. I mean, and
No, no,
really, unless you say, well, he wasn't training good enough or whatever. But I think
no.
Dana White said something to that
But he
effect
has
that
like
he
mental problems to work through. You
just
know what I
not
mean?
being
Like,
like focused enough.
yeah, not being there, like
Yeah,
knowing what to do, and you know just being in that situation, kind of freezing, and like I don't know, not doing what he trained.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, so we're gonna talk about some stuff related to like SaaS and stuff like that. Rob Walling posted a tweet recently on like not needing to build an audience in order to build a SaaS, and which is funny because like for me, like I feel like whenever I think of like that typical like stair step approach of like build a info product, build an audience, build a simple plugin, and then build a SaaS, I think of like Rob Walling is kind of introducing that model, or at least in my head, that's how I think about it. But like you replied to that and you were like, yeah, like thank God that you don't have to build an audience to build a SaaS because like you wouldn't have ever wanted to do that and stuff, you know?
Yeah. Well, and Rob was talking about like that not being necessary, right? Like
Yeah,
that, a lot of people thinking that, but especially if you're talking about SaaS with info products, and less with SaaS is basically what he was talking about.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's I think it's I think it's one of those things that's overrated, at least when it comes to building software and building SaaS. And people just act like, um, yeah,
like
build
it's a
an
given.
audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how hard that is.
It
There are a
is, yeah.
lot of people trying to build an audience, and 90, I don't know, 9%, 95%, if we want to be generous, shouldn't be trying to do it. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
especially
it's
if,
not like a superpower for them. It's like
yeah,
time that is better spent like actually building the business.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's if they enjoy it, if they truly enjoy it,
yeah,
and they're like, oh, I can get these other benefits to it while I do it, then cool. You want to get better at it and all that stuff.
yeah,
That's cool. That's a different thing, you
yeah.
know, than
But I
like
think it
this is
kind of,
step one.
yeah, it kind of somehow at some point turned into like a default,
Right.
because like everybody kind of recognizes the value of having an audience and things like that, and so many
And it
people are,
doesn't even align that well a lot of times with SaaS. Meaning you have an audience and people like if you get there even, it's like it doesn't even help that much. A lot of people have talked about this, and you see it all the
yeah,
time in within on the info marketing space, right? Like internet
yeah,
marketing, people who try to do software, and it's like especially like ones that are big names and that do really well, and they get into SaaS and they don't do that well. There's some
Yeah.
exceptions, of course,
Yeah.
that we can think of, but there are
Yeah.
a lot that I've known that nope, it's a different
Yeah.
beast.
Yeah.
It's different.
I remember when I was like building my first bootstrap business, like I had a little bit of a network and audience and stuff on Twitter, and I thought like, oh man, once I post this, I'm gonna get a ton of traction, and it was like nothing. Like I had to start getting on the phone with people and stuff like that for me before it kind of started to click. And which is I guess more of like a sales type activity.
Right,
Um,
sales or marketing, or
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's just different if you're buying a software product versus buying an info product. If you just think about how you buy info products versus how you buy software that you need and you're going to use, way different,
yeah,
right? Like an info product or course or whatever. A lot of the times when I'm buying them, I don't know about you, but it's about like who is this that's giving out this information? Do I
right,
trust them? Like, do I
right,
think, is it going to be really
right,
good, really good, right? In
right,
that way
right.
versus software tool, like we need, we need something for, bills for, automatic
Right.
bills on our
It's
thing.
like, who
What are other people
cares who
using?
made it? Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's not like, oh man, Rob, I know him. I like him. He's coming out with something for automatic builds or something. I think. Let me check that out. Like,
Yeah. It can definitely funnel in.
yeah,
It can't,
not like
but
not as
it's a
much.
different thing. Yeah, it's a different
Yeah.
thing with an info product versus a SaaS. SaaS is fundamentally a tool. What's the thing you're solving? What's the problem you're solving? Um,
Yeah, and Rob really, when he was talking about it, he was talking about like the stair step thing. He was talking about it in terms of building like plugins, building something like that's closer to a
mm,
software product. Like if ultimately that's what you want to do, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
or smaller version of one,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and working your way up.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny because I remember at the time I heard that I was like building a SaaS, and then I had this little SaaS and stuff like that, and then when I heard that stair step approach, I was like, that makes so much sense, and I liked the concept of it that I wanted to like start from the beginning and do the
And go
whole thing,
back.
and I wanted to do like a productized service and like different things like that, and I've kind of touched on some of those different things randomly, but um, I don't know. I like the concept of it a lot. Like
Yeah,
how you can
I've
kind of
actually gone. I've mentioned it to Rob a few times. We over the years, and I've mentioned that. I don't know about that. I think people should just start like that's my,
just do
like
what you're gonna
my way
do.
of,
Like
yeah, just like get the practice there. Like, I mean, learn as you go. He probably knows more, of course, because he's dealt with like way more people in SaaS
yeah,
and all that stuff. That's just been sort of my view on it. It's like
yeah,
just do it. Like a lot of the people, I think one drawback to that can be that people start off building like a plugin or something or get into WordPress to
hmm,
a platform or something like that,
hmm,
just to start small and
yeah,
thinking I want to do SaaS, and then this is just kind of natural. They just end up staying there,
hmm.
meaning like maybe they do something and then they do another one, but like years later, like that's all they're doing. They're just WordPress people
They
because
got
they've
stuck on
invested
one of
so
the
much
stairs.
time and right, exactly, right, yeah, yeah,
Got
uh,
stuck on the second
yeah,
stair.
or saw
Just
like a door
chilled
right
out.
like halfway through and they're like, oh, let me go down this hallway, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. How many years has it been now since you started Bidsketch?
Over 10 years now.
Over 10 now.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's,
Yeah,
it's been a while. How about
yeah.
you?
So it's been I think I think 7 years, something like that.
Okay.
And like when I was building my first bootstrap business, I like would listen to your like you be on different podcasts and stuff like that, and I
Nice.
probably listened to like I don't know like 5 or 6 of them, and it was like one of those things that was like real helpful for me in that in that kind of journey. So
What
thank you
was
very
helpful about
much.
it? Yeah, of course.
Just like, I mean, I listen to so much stuff from Stars for the Rest of Us to some of the stuff you were on to the
Yeah,
Bootstrap with Kids and some different ones, and just like it wasn't always like a specific actionable.
not
There
like tactical
was
or anything like that. It
a
was
lot of times there were specific tactical things, but a lot of times it was
yeah,
just day in and day out, just hearing real people, regular people talking about stuff they did, and just keeping that like
yeah, yeah.
constant momentum kind of in my ear and stuff. And I'm sure there was like hundreds of specific tactical
Just
things that I
being
picked
in
up.
that sort of like yeah, it helps a lot when you're doing anything
Yeah.
and you kind of immerse yourself in that world, right? And that's
Yes.
all you're thinking about, you're reading about it,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
listening to it.
And then it's
Or a lot more than just like, oh, I'm only thinking about this thing when I'm literally doing it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that thing where they say you're the average of the five people you're
Mm,
closest to, whatever, and then
right.
if you just have like no friends in real life, and then you just have like seven people you listen to on podcasts or whatever, you just kind of you feel like, oh yeah, like they did it, like I can do it too. It's like it's like
Yeah.
normal, it's not impossible.
Right. No,
Um,
that's huge. Just like knowing
yeah,
people that are doing certain things, especially like yeah, when I grew up, like there weren't people, nobody had their own businesses or
right,
anything like that.
right.
Of course they're business owners over there, but if we're talking about like my family and friends, like no, like you're working minimum wage if lucky, and
Yeah,
you don't know anybody that's really doing much of anything.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
being exposed to like, oh, this is possible. It's huge.
yeah,
It is a big deal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you have stuff that you listened to when you were first starting, or were you just like just
Yeah. So
working on stuff?
um, it was like that. It's been like that for everything that I've gotten into. Like when I got into development, right? Um, I met. I got a job. I was working at a tech support place doing tech support for dealer support for compact computers, which
Mm,
I don't think they're around anymore.
I don't think so.
And at the place I met this guy who like he sometimes you shadow with people and stuff, and he was like, hey, check this out. I was like, oh, okay. He's showing me some website with like band shit on it or whatever. I'm like, okay, like who cares? Like, I don't understand. Like, why are you showing me this?
Yeah,
And I was like, okay. And he saw that I was confused, and he just said, oh, I made this. It's fine. I was like, oh, what? You made that? No.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
was like, yeah, I made this. And I was like, how'd you do that? And he just like, yeah, just taught myself how to do. Whoa, like you taught yourself? He's like, yeah, I just went to this website, webmonkey.com.
Nice.
You know, I found the website, and we started talking, and basically that kicked off the whole thing of me learning how to code, right?
That's cool.
Just knowing people that are doing things. Um, was always a huge help. So like for SaaS, it was reading certain books and blogs and stuff. Like back then, it was a lot of like shareware stuff.
Yeah.
Like the solo shareware guys.
Yeah.
What do they call themselves back there?
Uh,
Micro. What was it
oh,
called?
oh, oh, oh. That was a little before my time. It was like micro ISV or something
Yes,
like that.
micro ISPs. Damn right. Yeah,
I like looked into it. I researched at one point, but it was like, yeah, that was like,
yeah. And I ran into people uh, even like that's where I ran into Patrick Mckenzie and stuff,
okay,
right?
nice.
Um, and Rob a little bit after that, to where it was like, oh, here's this other guy doing some like related but interesting things because he's buying them instead of just like building. That's what Rob was doing, buying these
Right,
smaller like
right,
software
right.
businesses and stuff.
Like the
So
SEO one and stuff.
yeah. So back then it was just a lot of reading. I don't think I was listening to any podcasts at all. I don't, there might have been podcasts out,
Yeah.
but yeah,
One
and
of the most
that was
like Yeah, one of the most like actionable things I remember was a Patrick Mckenzie podcast. I think it might have been with Steli FD, but they were talking about sales, and they were basically talking about like get on the phone, and I remember very clearly after that, like I was like didn't want to get on the phone and stuff like that, and after that podcasts, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start getting on the phone, and I remember having a pretty positive impact for me. Um,
Nice.
yeah, that was one of the few like specific things I can remember. But um, it's
Yeah,
funny
stuff
when you
like that
met.
is cool.
Yeah, I would say it's funny when you mentioned the term micro ISV, or like there's all these different words, right, for
Mm.
like startups, bootstrapped,
Yeah,
self-funded,
yeah.
da
Oh
da
yeah.
da. Da. It's like there's all these like words. It's all the same thing, right? It's just
Mm.
owning a business, but for some
Yep.
reason, like we like to use
Right.
different words become kind of fashionable at different times and stuff.
Yep.
It's kind of it's kind of
Yeah, and
random.
right, the whole like like Heaton is pushing hard
Yeah.
the self-funded thing, right?
Yeah.
Which I like. I like it a lot.
I don't. Why do you like? I don't get that. Like I
Oh,
love the
you
word.
were did you
Yeah.
were you were like the
I
one
was.
that I remember saw? You're like,
Yeah. I was the
bootstrapped.
one that was like bootstrapped. Yeah. 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 I love the phrase bootstrapped. I love how you can say
I like that too.
bootstrapper.
Yeah,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
I
like. I
never
think I like
understood.
most of them. I'm
Okay.
even cool with micro ISP. Let's bring that back.
Let's bring it back.
I'm cool with that.
Let's chill.
Yeah,
Like,
there are too many that I don't know when it comes to words. I know a lot of people get all bent out of shape over a lot of stuff. It's like, oh, call it this, call it that.
yeah.
I'm pretty good with most things. Most words. There are few that do bug me, but they're probably different than what most people are kind of focused on or always talk about, like motivation. That
Motiv-
one
the
bugs me.
word motivation.
Motivation bugs me. Yeah.
Okay, I
Um,
got I got to drill into this a little bit. Now I'm curious.
is like passion. That one bugs me too.
Okay. I can
Yeah.
see passion. I can see passion, but like you mean like when people say like you got to be passionate, like
Yep. Yep.
that kind of a thing. Yeah, like do what you're most
I don't
find
think
what
you
you're
read
most
the
passionate about.
definition of the word. Like you can't do anything productive you're passionate about. Like you're barely in control.
Oh,
Like
okay,
nah.
right,
Like
right.
you know, nah. You
What is
really
the
like.
actual what is the actual definition of passion? Is it's like you're overwhelmed with excitement about something kind of a thing?
Yeah, it's more like that level than just like yeah, yeah. You're thinking about something all the time and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
no, it's just like what I don't like about it is that it can. I feel like I think that's when some words bug me is when they hurt people that are just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Like for that one, it's I can see people who are just getting started being like, oh, I'm not passionate about this thing anymore, whatever. I
Right.
should give up. I shouldn't do. I should do like the next thing, or I should do this thing which has no hope because I'm passionate
Right.
about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Do you feel like you have so it's been over 10 years since you've been kind of in the game. Do you feel that you have more like do you feel like you have more passion or like more now I'm trying trying to
I
find a
don't even
different
use
word.
that. I legit don't use that word other than when I'm talking about it like in this way.
Like as far as like for me personally, I feel like I've been trying to find um when you're like trying not to think about something, like don't think about a white elephant and all you're thinking about is a white elephant.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I've been trying to find like what are the things that I enjoy the most and then try to align like my work with those things.
Yep.
But then also there's just stuff you got to do that you just got to do. But like,
Yeah.
do you feel like you've gotten closer and closer to really enjoying like every aspect of your work, your business, or is it just like work is work, you just knock it out like a beast, like it's there's less of that like what do I
It de-
enjoy?
yeah, it's like there are phases of the thing that whatever it is that I'm doing, like the starting phase, right? And there's different things that I really enjoy about that than um, growing it beyond that, getting to product market fit, like starting to go past that and scaling, and there are just different things that I like about those phases. I think I just wouldn't like getting in a situation where I have a company and I'm having to then have executives and board meetings and all that. I'm out like at that point. That's not for me.
Yeah. You like
So
being
yeah, like
closer to the
I guess
actual
answering.
work, closer to the actual product and stuff like that.
Um, yes, kind of. Depends on like what my goals are, but it's not really about like going in there and, oh, I need to do this thing myself or anything like that. It's more about like what's my day like and who am I dealing with,
Hmm.
and how creative can I be throughout the day? How
Right.
much of my energy can I put to use towards things that I enjoy doing?
Right.
So if it's like, my week is just booked and I have like nothing but calls and meetings with people that I don't relate with,
Hmm.
then that's probably
That's the
not that good
worst.
of a week for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So, it's hard to say whether like, I guess most of my day is, the energy, is being spent on more things that I enjoy versus like when I first started. Um,
You're just doing what you got to do to get something off the ground.
and I enjoy different parts of that. Like, I don't think about it in those terms. It's almost like, so I'll put it to you this way. If I was doing the stuff that I was doing back when I got started, I would not feel good about it. Even though back then, I was, excited about those things,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because it was learning, it was growing. Like whenever I feel like I'm
Right.
learning and growing and getting better or being challenged,
Right.
then I feel pretty good about things.
Yeah. 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 I love the phrase energy management that I saw you use recently, and it's like something I've been thinking about a lot recently, but I haven't thought about it in terms of that phrase. And because you think about like, well, optimizing your schedule or blah 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 whatever, but I love that. So I'm curious, like, what does your day look like? Like, how do you what are the things you do to kind of manage your energy and keep yourself in that flow state and like different activities that you do.
Yeah, this ties in with like the motivation word, right? it you can't rely on motivation to build a business. You'll
Right.
be up and
Right.
down and not doing shit, and um, I do tend, and it's kind of like a longer term thing, right? Like, well, it's not just like motivated this week. I'm not motivated lately. It's too easy to not do the things that you need to do, like having to depend on the weather being right. Like, what is that? Just,
Dude, I've been like on the topic of the weather. It's like been raining the last 2 days. And it's been like overcast. I've been like so like melancholy. I feel like such a punk, dude. But it just takes me some time to adapt.
yeah.
Um,
I live in Portland, so
yeah, yeah,
raining a lot here, and yeah, I love it. It's great. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah,
I think South Florida was bad. You know, uh, like no seasons and like crazy humid hot, and
yeah.
that was tough.
How long were
Um,
you in Florida for?
wow. I got there when I was I think 19 or 20,
Oh, okay.
and did I leave? I don't even know how old I am now. um, like over 15 years
Oh,
I was there.
okay.
So
That's a
a good
wild
while.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
I came from San Diego, and I thought it was going to be just like that, like Southern California, South Florida, palm trees,
Uh,
beaches.
yeah.
Way different.
Very different.
Yeah, not for me. Um, yeah, going back to the energy management thing, it's more like it's more about just structuring my day and making sure that I'm, because it's this balance of trying to get you kind of, for your week and for your day, you kind of have like the big things that you want to get done, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this week I want to get this stuff, 2, 3 things done. And maybe for your day, it's like, okay, this one thing, maybe these two things that are like big and important. I want to do those, and it's all about like that, like managing the energy to do that in a good way. And it's not
Yeah.
always possible, but it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? I need to build some momentum here. And let me start off with like, a streak of like whatever, these 5 minute tasks or something like that, get going.
Hmm.
Or sometimes it's just like, oh, let me jump on that thing just like right away and
Hmm.
start working on that. Um, Sometimes it's just like, okay, damn, like I've been putting this off for a little while, and
Time to
I
sit
really got to
down
get
and
to it,
get it done.
and
Yeah.
yeah, there's no good way to like work into it. Let's just do it, and then
Yeah.
you know, and sure enough, within like a few minutes, you're into it. You're like,
Right.
you're in a
Right.
flow. It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
getting started really.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, like this morning I was trying to do some coding. I try to kind of work on one like little feature a day, like Tuesday through Friday, and then I was like not wanting to get started at all. I was like looking at the clock. I was like, once it gets to like 10 a.m., I can stop doing this, and I was like, oh God, it's not there yet. And then I finally got into something, and then I stopped looking at the clock, and it was just like boom,
Yeah,
that like
yeah,
you
that's the
kind of want to
best.
get to that. Yeah, yeah, that's the best.
Yeah, it's when I had a job and I worked night, and I worked on the product stuff like nights and weekends. Like, I was tired a lot of the time.
Yeah,
By the time
yeah,
it was like it was time to get into code or whatever it is I was doing,
yeah,
and I really didn't feel like it. But I'd say, all right, just do 5 minutes. That's it, five
yeah.
minutes, and then you stop. And then of
Right.
course, five
Totally.
minutes, and now just keep going.
It's like a little hack, like little
Yeah,
hacks
yeah.
to kind of. Does that word
But it
bug
was,
you
but it was,
too?
but it was,
The word
but it,
hack.
but it was true.
Life
Like
hack.
if if
Yeah.
if if I didn't, if I was just like not into it,
Yeah.
that moment, and for some reason just like, all right, this is like, um I'm having trouble writing code right now, and I'm writing a bunch of bugs or whatever,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
super rare.
Yeah.
That like after a few minutes, I couldn't continue doing whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then yeah, the intent was like, uh, I'll stop. But it's, right now it's kind of like a weird time with COVID and lockdowns and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess when I'm talking about, like, I could see people, like, it wouldn't bug me to see people saying now, like, oh, I'm not motivated. Like, okay, like, I get
Yeah.
it. Like, shit is
Yeah.
crazy right now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, take time off, do whatever,
Yeah.
get in a better place mentally.
Yeah.
And I feel like that sort of stuff is different than just like the day in and day out of like,
Hmm.
doing stuff. Because if
Yeah.
you're constantly in a state to where you're trying to just, what we're talking about is just kind of like for the day, right? It's not stopping us from doing work or whatever. It's just like,
Hmm.
okay, how can I use, you know the good energy that I have on stuff that I want to get done?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, like I need to like take like walk breaks and stuff like that. Like if I'm a
yeah,
little bit, tired or whatever, or I just need to switch modes or something like that. Like I need to get out, take a quick walk. And then when it's like raining and I can't really walk as much, then I'm just like, then I
I
get
get
like
you. Yeah,
stuck. Or like people in COVID right now are like, they're used to doing whatever, getting out, doing whatever, getting the kids out of the house, and then they can't do
yeah.
that.
Did
And
did
then you're
that hit
just
you when it started to happen? How was
not
that for you?
it wasn't too bad because we've homeschooled for a while, so we're kind of
Mm.
used to that. I've worked at home, my wife, so we're used to kind of being at home. But the
Yeah.
hardest thing for me was when the gym was closed because I really got into that routine, and that was like
Mm.
my
Okay.
middle of the day, go to the gym, get into like a different state of mind, and
Yeah.
so that was frustrating. And a lot of people were like building their home gyms and stuff, and I was like, should I do it? But I really like like I'm at the house so much that like having that one chunk of the day where I'm not in the house
Right.
is
Yeah.
like is like important for me, so that was a little. But I think compared to most people, it wasn't too bad. Like, you know,
Yeah.
how was it for you?
Hmm. For me, it was, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people are struggling right now with especially with kids and having to do, that just adds on top.
Yeah.
So we already do homeschooling. So we are kind of structured in that way. But just the
You guys
idea, I
homeschool
remember,
too?
yeah, yeah, we
Oh,
homeschool.
damn. I don't think I realized that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been doing it for a while. So, it's kind of tough for like the group activities to go away for now and stuff
Exactly.
like that. Like
Same thing.
that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Um, but there was like this week to where I remember where it just kind of became, like you'd heard about it and all that stuff, but nothing really happened here. And then just this week where it just kind of just turned around and everything just changed and you could feel it.
Yeah.
Um, and that week I was legit distracted. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like you can't get water, you can't get toilet paper, right? Like what's
Yeah.
going, like how
Yeah. Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
get? Like where, um,
Yeah. Hoarding toilet paper and
yeah,
stuff. Did you ever
yeah.
wait in a line at the grocery store?
What do you mean wait in the line at a grocery
Like,
store?
I don't know if you guys had lines out there, but at one point, like out here, there was like a line to get in the grocery store because they only could have so
Oh
many people
yeah,
at a
yeah, I did
time.
that. Right.
Okay, yeah. So that was weird when I first had to do that because
Yes.
like you hear about like bread lines like back in the
Yeah.
day, and
Yeah.
that's probably the closest thing
Right. And I was
to
kind
that.
of like, I tend to be, there are people all over like on the spectrum when it comes to like masks and all that stuff, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
super political and all that at this point for some reason.
The
Um,
stuff that's political is so strange. It's
yeah,
like there's
it's
so
so
much
weird.
stuff. Yeah,
But so there are people that are like, yep, early on, right away, like masks. To some other people, it took them longer to be like, okay, like I'll do this, in
yeah,
certain situations, blah blah. And other people
yeah.
are like, I'm never doing it, no matter what. Um,
Yeah,
so I was like, I was pretty early, like even for like I'm in Portland, right? So
yeah,
you would imagine that a lot more people here would be with masks. Like I was just in Seattle, and that's
yeah,
how it was.
yeah.
Um, but I was even early for that
Okay.
here, and I'm just like going out. You feel so weird with mask on. Nobody else had masks, and people are
Oh
like looking at
yeah,
me. You know what I mean?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but it was funny in Seattle. I was just there, and everyone. Now in Portland, it's different though. It's actually not like Seattle so much. Over there, everyone just walking around outside, mask, everyone, and stepping out of the car. Even, and I was just thinking about it, like, like you feel weird without a mask on. It's
Yeah,
the total opposite,
it's a
which
total
makes sense.
opposite.
But yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
it's
totally
huge.
flipped. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like if you're outside and then you're like walking without a mask, you're like, oh, it's like you feel like naked and stuff, and then like
Right.
do you guys wear masks like outside, like if you were to go for a hike or something like that? Do
Kind
you
of
guys?
likely to run into people or anything like that,
Yeah, yeah,
just outside, just doing stuff in the backyard or whatever. We have like over half an acre here and stuff. So a little bit of land, a little bit
yeah.
of space to do stuff. So no,
No,
not usually unless we're going to be around other people, like
gotcha.
kind of clean,
Close by.
close
Yeah,
distance. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's so crazy right now. But dude, so how long you been homeschooling for?
I want to say about 3 years now.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
how old are you? How old are your
So
kids?
my oldest is 7, youngest
Okay.
is 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice,
So
man.
my wife Emily, she does that, and it's pretty like the living situation where I am, it's we just have this weird ass shaped house to where
Uh,
it's like an L, you know,
okay.
and at the very end, at the bottom floor is my office, my home office, you know.
Perfect.
So
Right.
yeah, it's perfect. It's great. Yeah,
So you got enough noise separation.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It would be tough. Like when I had to leave because there were fires here in Oregon. So our county, almost all the county, had to evacuate.
Mm,
So we drove to by Idaho and stuff like that.
hmm
And we were in Seattle for a bit.
hmm
Uh, it's so tough to when you don't have a space and you're just
Yeah.
like with your laptop and not even good chairs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
It's,
tough.
yeah. Yeah. It is. Like we moved here like 2.5 years ago, and we have like a 2,500 square foot house and stuff. And so I thought like, oh yeah, I'll have my own office. Everything would be cool. But and we have young kids. Like I have a 2.5 year old, 5 year old, 11 year old. So I could just hear them all the time, and there's like
Mm.
no yelling, screaming, crying all the time. So I literally built like a little backyard office shed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, where
I've
it's
seen those.
yeah, basically just so I could like get some separation from them. Um,
How's that working out?
it's good. It's good.
You
Like
like it?
it's yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really cool. It's like it's not the greatest like job as far as building a shed, but just like
Well, companies sell those now, like
yeah,
pre-built. They just drop them off or something.
yeah. There's like
Just like
some
hook
really
them up.
nice ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
For some reason, I had this like DIY thing, like oh yeah, I could do it myself, and like I
yeah,
thought maybe I'd like build a tiny house at some point, because I'm like
yeah,
I'm like watching these YouTube videos about tiny houses and stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so then I was like, yeah, this will be a cool project. And it's just it's a
No.
lot of work, dude. It's a lot of
Yeah, I've
work.
no interest in that. Like when I was 17, 18, I did construction. I took
Oh, did
like
you?
houses from like the wood frame to the finish,
Yeah,
the first scratch and brown and then like stucco and all that. I have
yeah.
zero, like that was not fun.
Yeah,
I have zero interest in doing anything like that again.
yeah. I think you have to like until you've done it a bit, like it seems like there's something romantic about it. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
build my
It's
own
like,
thing.
yeah, in tech, I see this a lot. Other people like
Yeah,
daydreaming about daydreaming about doing all sorts of shit that people hate doing for a living. Have you
you're
ever had a real
like,
job in your life?
you're like, bro, you're not gonna like
That's not fun.
it. Dude, but I kind of do. Like, I was looking at getting some land here nearby, because like we're in like a HOA and stuff like that, and I was like, dude, I think I might like to get some land and get some like animals and some chickens and stuff. But
That could be cool. Yeah.
I ended up pretty much giving up on it. But it
Oh
would
yeah.
be cool to have some like chickens, like grow your
Yeah.
own egg, get your own eggs and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, my wife's always just like, that's a lot of work, and because also she knows that I'll
Yeah.
like
That probably is
start.
a.
She
My
knows that I'll like
grandfather had
start
that
something.
going on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, like her grandparents have a farm in Mexico and stuff, and like so she just grown up around it her whole life,
Right.
um and like yeah, but we're not allowed to have any chickens here, so
No, why not?
HOA,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah. They're like they're like you can't even paint your house a different color. You think you're gonna
Nah.
have chickens here?
Yeah.
Hell
They're
no.
like, you can pick between this brown and this
Yeah,
brown for your
that's it.
paint color. That's it. um, but yeah, dude. So jobs to be done. So I saw you were tweeting about you replied to Ryan Singer about jobs to be done, and I was curious about that, like like how that works for you, and maybe some interesting like nuggets you've gotten recently.
Sure.
Uh,
What was the reply to Ryan? I don't remember
Oh,
that.
I think it would, dude. I like, I like to like, I'll look at someone's Twitter page, and I'll literally like just read like a couple hundred tweets. So all he
Oh,
was saying
gotcha.
was he was saying who out there has not only like read about jobs to be done, but
Oh,
also done at
right.
least 10 interviews, and then you just replied that you had done that.
Yeah, we've done a bunch of interviews. I've done a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a as a framework to go deeper and kind of get the story, like what actually happened when people are signing up, when people are using the product versus what they say, because they'll say all sorts of stuff, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, I wanted to improve our workflow, blah blah blah, like some fluffy shit.
Hmm.
And then when you get into the story, it's like, oh, like it's not, that has nothing to do with it. Like that's not why you signed up.
Hmm.
Like you had a big client and you felt weird about sending them something through email. And you're like, no, that's not professional enough. Like, okay. And that kicked off the whole thing, right? Like
Okay.
just different, just getting, which helps with everything, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, just in that, like that may be like a little piece of one story, and it's already like, okay, there's a timeline, there's a client, right? There's a deadline, there's a document that's being sent.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's a feeling about like wanting to come across a certain way, right? So yeah, just getting the actual story of what's going on, not what they're saying is the reason why they're doing things, is big.
Hmm.
I like that in that form. I also like it in the form of what's the book, The Mom Test. That's why I really like that book too. Have you ever read that one?
The mom test? No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, it's good. Read it. Short.
Okay.
Those are good. Those are the best ones. The ones that are really short
They
and
just
just
get right to
get
the
to the
point.
point. Yeah.
They don't have the word
Yeah.
passion in them at all.
Yeah. Fluffy stuff. Your why. Uh, go with your why or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, no, yeah, it's all about that. That book is it's not a jobs to be done book. It's a book about maybe I don't even know if he talks about it being customer development. He might be talking about it in those terms. But it's
Hmm.
just that. It's just having conversations with customers when they're, or users or potential users or whatever, anybody,
Yeah.
whenever you're like trying to, let's say somebody requests a feature and trying to even decide whether to build the feature and how to build it, and you know whether it would be used by certain people segments, and
Yeah.
just yeah, going a lot deeper. uh,
Is the
I love
is the
that
I
stuff.
is the idea of the mom test book? Is it basically like if your mom can understand it, it's simple enough? That type of a.
That your mom lies to you, right?
Oh. Oh,
Like
right, right,
tries to
right,
make you
right,
feel good, right? Like people will tell you
right,
things that they think you want to hear,
right,
instead of the truth. And it's about
right,
uncovering that. Yeah, the
right,
title is tough. It's like not the best title in the world, but it's one of my favorite books.
yeah,
100%, so good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
How do you like, what do you do for that when it comes to
I'm not very good at.
research or customer?
I just go with my gut on stuff. I've never been. I always love hearing about people that are very systematic about things, but then when I do stuff,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm gonna just try this and try that. It's like it's not very it's not a very rigorous approach, you know.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I mean, we all do that. No matter, I talk about
Right.
these processes that I have, but there are a bunch of things that I'm just relying on my gut for the decision. Hopefully, it's
Yeah.
based off of like, okay, I've you know years or months or weeks
Yeah.
of data and stuff like that
Yeah.
working, in the back somewhere in
Yeah.
my mind that's helping like this gut decision.
Yeah.
um, but we all do that. But yeah, there are people who do less of that work. It sounds like
Yeah.
you do less of that, and
Yeah.
you're
I do listen to that. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but to have like a good gut feel for stuff, that data has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like where do you think
Like
that, for you, where do you think that comes from? Because if
mm,
let's say you go into um a I don't know, a law firm. They're like, yeah, okay, for the day, just make decisions about the business for the law firm. You could go off your gut all day long. That you're flipping the coin at that point, right?
Yeah. Well, like for example, I was doing some work on like a client dashboard this morning. So I was like, because like the client dashboard section of the site like sucks. So I was just like, it came up because somebody was trying to do something, or I was trying to follow up on something, and I wanted like a dashboard view. And then I remembered on the to-do list, I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to like do a dashboard at some point because it's just the kind of thing you just are supposed to have with an account site. And then so then like usually if something comes up more than a few times, like if somebody asks me, and then it's funny because after I started working on that feature this morning and I was figuring out how to do it, I was like, okay, which UI components am I going to have in place? And then I got to my inbox and I saw a couple emails from people, and I was like, oh, the dashboard would help me answer their question because it would make it more obvious that they have existing candidates in the account that they need to review, and it would surface that up to the top. And then I saw like another email, and I was like, oh, it would help them with that. So usually like if I think about something or hear about something a few different times and I go like, oh yeah, this would be good for those different things, then I'll sort of, it's almost like there's a little counter in my head that
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
increments,
yeah.
and
Those
then,
are all data points. You're getting
yeah,
data,
yeah,
just
yeah,
qualitative, right? Like through
yeah,
conversations or whatever. You're building that up.
yeah,
Yeah, the 30, I still call it 37 signals
right.
instead of Basecamp
Yeah, yeah.
way of doing it, right? Which they say we just whatever, we just hear about it, and we just
That's kind
know.
of their approach. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. When I see them, so much of the time when I see them talk about their approach to stuff, I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, that's how I want to do it. I actually was another tweet that I replied to was you were replying to Josh Pigford, who was talking about how like he was just like, oh, I'm just done with marketing, like sales and marketing. It can be so like what was the word he used, like manipulative or something like that.
manipulate. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then you were like saying, well, it doesn't have to be. And I thought about Basecamp's new marketing director, dude named Andy something, and like he's just this interesting dude. He like started making hand sanitizer when COVID started, and he's like created this busing program to like help bus people around in Detroit. And he's like is like working on revitalizing Detroit. Just lots of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking of him as like somebody that just does cool stuff, and it's also marketing, but it's not like, you know.
Marketing in a way that you like to think about doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But it's funny because even like 37 signals, they they'll take they'll take really hardcore positions on something like, let's say, marketing or anything. Of course, everyone knows, and they'll give you opinions that kind of sound good, like why they're doing that. You may totally disagree with it, but you're like, okay, they strongly feel about it because of this way. I think it's,
Yeah.
I don't agree or whatever. But you could 100% see them taking the opposite position and just making it sound really good too. You know what I mean? And they do that, and they've done that at times to where,
Really?
like, I remember before, to where they didn't have they didn't do tracking, they didn't do Google Analytics, they didn't know shit about what was going on.
Right.
Then then they hired a marketer. I
uh
think this might have been like their first legit marketer or something like that. Then
uh
suddenly they're like, oh yeah, it just makes sense to to have a better understanding of blah blah
Gotcha.
blah, and right. And they're like, yeah, we went with we just released a homepage and blah blah blah, and we saw a dramatic drop, and we hadn't tested it before, and it's just something as simple as just seeing if people like it. Let's test it out. It's like,
That's funny.
motherfucker, you were just saying before, like,
I guess
oh,
I guess that's
why
part
test
of
it? We
like,
know what
yeah,
people, you know what I mean?
I guess that's part of just being like persuasive in general, and
Mm-hmm.
being like to be a good writer is basically to be persuasive, to be good at like framing things well. And
Right.
I
Right.
guess you're right. That's part of it, is that they're just good at that. and
Yeah, they're good at that.
hopefully they're also consistent with their principles, but nobody's 100% consistent all the time. um
No, and there's
you know
nothing. That's an improvement. Like them willing to do. That's a good thing.
yeah.
It just bugs me a little, or more than a little, when they're like acting like that's just the way they've always been. Like,
uh
no, come
uh
on, now. Like, be honest.
yeah, yeah, it's funny. I can't remember how I got onto that topic, but yeah, marketing and stuff. What were we talking about before that?
Jobs to be done.
Oh yeah,
Going with your gut.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Figuring
yeah,
stuff out.
yeah. Oh, I know, I was gonna ask you was so Docsketch, your current jam
Mhm.
that you're focused on. How did you get that idea to work on that?
People. I think it came because we have an integration on Bidsketch with eSignature
Oh, that's
tools.
right. That's right. Uh-huh.
So then people asked us to like make that better and enhance it, and it's kind of basic in the proposal space, the proposal category. And then we were just being asked to
What's
build it,
kind of basic in the proposal category?
like most e-signature flows, like workflows and
Hmm.
functionality and stuff like that. It's like, yes, proposal apps have that, but in a basic form,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So people were just asking like, hey, why don't you just build this thing and part of Bidsketch? So
Mm,
that was like we were getting enough of that. And partly like through jobs to be done interviews, we're like just looking at like, um, hey, there's an opportunity here to support more of the workflow that people have. Like
mm,
people aren't just working with proposals; they're working with contracts and different types of agreements and stuff. And
mm,
just this proposal app, that's like at the edges of what we do. We even integrate with some apps that to where they could do that, but we can help support some of that. But it just looking at that, looking at the opportunity, and then just really step one for a lot of stuff that I look at when it comes to building new things, products, features, or whatever, um, is like thinking, how am I going to market this? How am I going to sell this?
mm,
Doing keyword research and seeing like, whoa, okay, there's opportunity here. Like there are some
mm.
big brands in here that have been here for a long time, but it's a big space, and we don't have to compete head to head with them, right? Like just based off of brand. They've been here way too long. So, but there was a indirect way of competing.
Can you share what that? Can you talk about what that indirect way of competing was, or I don't want to get too much into the secret sauce.
Yeah. Just just traffic, like ways of getting traffic that may convert into paying customers. And a lot of times, it's tough I look at SEO a lot, and even though it's very intent based,
You're
which
pretty
can be
heavy
really
into
good.
SEO, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's one of the I spend a lot of time keeping up with it and trying things related to SEO and all that.
yeah.
Talking to people who are really good at it and doing it and learning from them as well. Um, so the really good thing about SEO and that search traffic is that people are literally searching for something, right? So it's exactly what they want, or
Right.
you kind of know what you mostly know what they want. And where it gets a little different is that it's easy to kind of trick yourself and say, I can get this type of traffic and convert them into a paying customer because this is the ideal customer. Let's say we're focusing on agencies.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, we say, all right, let's get agencies that are, there's this book that's super popular on Amazon that it's just focused on agencies, and a lot of agencies are searching for it. Let's let's get traffic for that book and then get them on our email list, then do a drip campaign and sell them on our product.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Almost guaranteed that doesn't work too well,
Does not
because
work too well.
no, like even though you got the right type of customer, if your product it was for that, depends too, like how horizontal, like how many agencies need that type of product? How easy is it to get into that type of product or not? How are they using, most people using something? Is it hard for them to switch? Like, are there opportunities often to, like, all these variables come to play, but a lot of those variables usually indicate that if the alignment is off, timing is such a huge deal that you're not going to convert that traffic into a paying customer. The closer you can get to somebody like being, I need this type of product, you know,
Mhm.
the easier it is to convert them. So that's the downside. Like, when it comes to that, it's harder to move somebody. It's possible in little bits of it, but you're not gonna convert like a ton of people. So
Mhm.
that's why bottom of the funnel traffic, like, bottom of the funnel meaning like buyers and people who
Mhm.
are searching for things in the process of buying a
Mhm.
product, right?
Mhm.
That's why I like putting together that timeline, and I like running that process of like, okay, what did you do when you were starting, when you needed something? What
Mhm.
kicked that off,
Mhm.
right? Like seeing if we can hook like our marketing into any of those segments, like the thing that kicked off the search,
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
the early stages of the search, the later stages where they're like trying to decide between like, um, building that picture, building that map, and then trying to hook our marketing into all that stuff.
Mhm. I feel like there aren't a lot of founders that are into SEO very much. I don't know. It might just be that I don't know them or not aware of
A
it, but that
few, but
seems
not
unique.
not that many. No.
Yeah.
Uh, have you done anything with SEO or much?
Not much. I did
Why
sort
not?
of try to, what's that?
Why not?
That's a good question. You know what's, I feel like most people, there's a certain type of marketing or type of content or whatever that they get comfortable with. Some people that's paid, some
Yeah.
people that's, whatever, organic content, social media. And then you kind of just, it's like you know how to do it, you're comfortable with it, so you kind of just stick with it. I think that's part
Right.
of it, is just that I never figured it out, or I tried it a little bit. It's the same with like paid. Like I've tried paid several times, like
Yeah.
paid advertising, and it's like I get confused by it, or I don't want to spend enough money. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on it, so I kind of just give up on it.
So,
And with
like, what do you do for marketing?
like I started this podcast, this like Magento podcast a while back, and like that was helpful. And then I did like social media and stuff like that. And then there's a bunch of organic traffic that I got as well, but I didn't like. I guess I did. There are some things, SEO oriented things, I did sort of on purpose. Like when I was building Commerce Hero, I purposely created like landing pages specific to locations, like specific to cities. So I created a
Yeah.
landing page for like best Magento developers in Portland, and I just generated that dynamically based off
Okay.
of the some of the data I had. So that was like, but then people would hit me up and they'd be like, dude, your SEO is ranking really high for this and that, and it would like compete with them in a certain city, and I was like, oh, and I didn't really, I wasn't like, I kind
So
of
you
just
didn't
like,
go
oh,
too
this,
deep with it.
I
You
didn't
kind
go
of
too
just did a
deep on
little
it.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, like I probably could have milked that strategy much, much more, and I could have probably optimized it much more heavily.
So you do
Um,
stuff like, so it's kind of like a little bit of stuff on purpose related to SEO, but then mostly not, like some stuff, maybe content marketing that has brought
yeah,
in SEO, like organic traffic, but kind of accident, like on accident. And
yeah,
then other than
yeah.
that, it's like, what type of what would you call it? What is this type, like content marketing?
Um, like I don't know what I would call it. Like even the content, like I think of somebody, if somebody does content marketing, I think of them as being more strategic about it. Like, okay,
Mm,
what are the topics that are the most in demand? Let me create content for those topics or whatever. I feel like I just I don't know. I like one thing I did that worked really well was like LinkedIn outreach. Um, and I basically would just connect with people like in my second degree network, send them a really low, like so many people are like so spammy on LinkedIn. I would just send a really like, hey, I just built this thing. Let me know if you don't mind me sending it to you. I wouldn't even send the link right away or anything like that. And
Yeah.
just that really simple thing worked really, really well. Um, and then
Cool.
combine that with like posting content to LinkedIn. So you're like, you have this network that you're building up, and then you're posting content that they're seeing, and then you're also doing some outreach and stuff.
But these
That
are all like
worked well.
things that it sounds like you tried
Yeah.
versus like just like this is what I normally regularly do to generate whatever traffic
So
signups
so
or
the
customers.
the LinkedIn thing I did pretty regularly for like
Okay.
a solid year. Like I would do like 100 connections every day for like a year,
Oh,
and then I kind of
that's pretty good.
yeah, and then I kind of stopped, and like it pains me every day that I know that I'm not doing that because I know that it's worked well, and
Why'd you
like
stop?
so I just like I didn't want to do it anymore, and, like so I
This
thought
is
about
working,
like
but I don't
so
feel like it.
well basically like if the business gets to the point it's making enough money that it's like enough
Yeah.
money, then I don't have that motivation to keep optimizing it. I
Yeah.
don't know, like it's stupid, but
That's when you should do it more.
that's when you should double down. Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
I know, I know.
Um,
It's
no,
dumb.
but I think it's the more common thing that a lot of people don't talk about, which is they're like most people, I would say, are in SaaS are dependent on word of mouth.
Yeah.
So it's like not they're not really doing marketing. They're kind of doing marketing. They're trying marketing type things, uh, but it's like really just mostly dependent on word of mouth is what it
Hmm.
comes comes down to when you dig in
Hmm.
to what a
Hmm.
lot of people are doing for the marketing efforts and for getting customers and signups and stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm. That's a big
Um,
one for agencies too, like development
yes,
agencies
yeah,
or yeah,
100%,
yeah.
right.
Um,
Why is
yeah,
that?
it's
Because it's like because you don't have to do anything.
yeah, I think
Right.
I think especially with agencies, you're getting such high ticket products purchases that you you just don't, you're at capacity so quickly, and then you don't even want to do any marketing for a
Yeah.
while, and and then something comes up. I feel like most people in SaaS have to figure out some level of marketing in order to get it off the ground, because you just have to have a much higher number of customers than like an agency that could have like four
Yes.
customers,
Yeah. But
but
it
I
can
think you're
be
right
like when
that
you talk to some a lot, like it's not that much marketing. It's so and but it's more it's not because like oh you build a great product and that's how it's because they get lucky a lot of time.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like a lot of it is luck.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I was just looking at this other e-signature. They didn't start off this way. They went years not being e-signature. They were like PDF editing and stuff, and now years later they tacked on like e-signatures and they were free for a long time. I remember
hmm,
analyzing them way back when I was doing research. Like, do I want to get into space? They were like
hmm,
one of the ones that I analyzed. And I looked at their
hmm,
backlinks because I heard that they were getting a lot of traffic, but they
hmm.
weren't getting paid. They were just like free. And like, oh, if they put some a credit card in front of this, then they'll start banking. Now they did, so they've been doing that for a little while, and they're like at 4 million ARR or something like that, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
5 million, something like that, and they get like 4 million uniques a month in traffic.
Hmm.
And when I was looking at the guy, I remember listening to an interview, and the guy had no idea, like basically how they got that much right. It was like, yeah, we haven't done marketing, like no marketing, just like yeah, and they always just listen to customers, do good customer support, like treat them right, and
Very generic.
like
Yeah,
oh, you know how many people are doing that? Ain't got shit, a lot. Like
yeah,
that's not no. It's like stuff happened. Like sometimes you'll get hooked. Like for them, they were in early in like the Chrome store, right? They build a plugin there or whatever they call
hmm,
it. And that took track.
Extension.
Yeah, and sometimes when there's like a bunch of demand for this one thing and there's nothing there, but something comes along,
Hmm.
like there's no effort needed. Like people latch on, especially if it's
Yeah.
like for them, I think it was like in the educational space that shit gets shared around, that gets posted on like portals and things like that, and it becomes the thing, right? And almost like magically,
Hmm.
without marketing effort or whatever, right? Like that's why they can say, yeah, we didn't do any marketing. Like, yeah, you got lucky because that's all that is, right? At that point.
Yeah. I think you're one of the most like systematic, like you're very like systematic and like process driven, I think, with your marketing and stuff. I still remember when you A/B tested what was it? Retargeting? Yeah. Like
Yeah,
retargeting was
retargeting.
like everybody does retargeting, like everybody, and there's all these studies on that it helps. And then you actually split tested it across like a cohort or something, and I was like, what? Like,
Yeah, our entire
I
site, right? Like half of them, and there are a lot of variables even with that test and stuff. It's
right,
like, well, our retargeting ads were bad,
right,
so
right,
people are
right,
that's why they
right,
weren't working.
right.
Um, but
But like
yeah, so
challenging
like
those
there was like
assumptions.
on the app, the platform that we were on, the retargeting platforms, like, this is your ROI. Like they're working really great, and people are going off of these dashboards, and it's like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think they would have converted anyway. So like, let me test this. Like
yeah,
half of the traffic gets the snippet, and
yeah,
the other half gets no snippet. And
yeah,
what do you know?
yeah,
No difference at all.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, they converted anyway. Like
yeah,
claiming a lot, which is super common. A lot of these apps just claim, claiming that they're doing something for you when it's like that would have happened anyways.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's hard to be objective when their incentives are to show that they're
oh
creating
yeah,
value.
hundred
So
percent.
it's
Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, they're not gonna be like, well, they would have converted anyway. Like use us,
you,
right?
you log into the dashboard. It's
Yeah,
like all it says is they would have converted anyways.
yeah. It was like we really don't know, but probably they would have converted anyway.
That'd be so. That'd be a good like April Fool's thing.
Just
Um,
just do it because everybody else is doing it.
basically. Yeah, that's funny. No, it's definitely good to be as systematic as you can um, with all that stuff. Um,
Yeah, but
but
I have like all sorts of messed up like I've been told that like, oh yeah, I may have like I look like I have a bunch of systems and processes for a lot for a lot of the stuff that I do, but
hmm
like when I brought on a UX slash on product manager recently,
hmm hmm
um, I'm like writing down documentation and how shit works. I'm like, sorry, I'm tired. You know,
you're
like
like seeing
yes,
all the gaps that you have in
oh yeah, oh yeah,
documentation and stuff.
like how
Yeah,
messy stuff is and how like this is super lightweight. Like, oh, this part's kind of ghetto. This is how
yeah,
do this. Like, there's some process for a lot of stuff, but
yeah,
if I'm leading the effort on marketing, I'm leading the effort on product, and I'm jumping back and forth and doing a lot of things. You know, there's only so much I can do, and I can't really go. I go deep in batches, is what I do.
yeah. Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think that like there's a difference between being super process oriented versus being like very like like data driven or like wanting to test stuff. Because like so many people like the idea of testing things, but then to actually do it and take the time to do it, question the things that everybody assumes are a given, that takes a certain mindset, which I think
Mm.
even if you don't have all super process driven oriented or whatever, like that mindset of continually testing stuff is sort of unique.
It's
Um,
fun.
yeah. Well, on that note, I should probably let you go now. But it was fun catching up, man. Where's the best place for people to find you online?
Um, obviously Docsketch is the main thing we're focusing on now. For me personally, it would be Twitter. Earthlingworks, I guess, is where I spend most of my time online when it comes to interacting with other people. It's such a time suck sometimes.
What's the origin of your Twitter username, by the way?
Oh, this was like way back when I was starting a company that I thought was going to be called Earthling Works.
Okay.
And so that was the Twitter account for it, and it's kind of became my personal Twitter account. And I never
Nice.
changed it. And that's it. Like, there's no really good story behind that.
What was the business? What was the idea of the business?
Oh, the original one. I think the very first thing was like a test case management system for like software testers and stuff.
It's, I don't even
Yeah.
understand how the name relates to that.
No, I have no
That's funny.
idea how I can, like, why it was even back then. I mean, naming's hard, and
Yeah, it
it was
is. It
even
is.
back then, it was even hard. And I just like, oh, I like the sound of this. I
Nice.
even paid a company to, at one point to, it was like this crowdsourcing platform to where you can have a bunch of people name your product.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So I got so frustrated with trying to name. I think it was Bidsketch that I was trying to name it,
Really?
and I
That's
went
a
on this
good name.
I went on this platform, and I don't know, I paid like $100 or whatever it was, and I'm like, just,
Uh,
they did a contest, and whoever, like the top three got something or whatever. And the names were so bad. They were they were horrible. They weren't
uh-huh.
even like close, not even close to usable. So it
Uh,
was a waste of money.
so
I
so
ended up not using that.
so they had a bunch of random options, and then you picked Bidsketch on your own,
Well,
and you
they
ignored.
had people like put in their what they, come up with names, and then other people would vote, like, or they
Uh,
would vote, and the
uh,
most popular ones were
yeah,
ranked. And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
okay, here you go, here are your
yeah,
top three names, right?
yeah,
That's how
yeah,
it worked.
yeah,
Uh, but it was super bad. It was like, I suck at naming, but you guys suck even worse.
yeah. You guys are
I know.
really bad at it.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
That's funny. All right, brother. Good talking to you,
All
man.
right.
Talk to you
Yeah.
again soon. All right.